Hello there, season 1 of Maul Shadow Lord is done and dusted. Let's talk about it, spoilers and all. Also, happy May the 4th, happy Star Wars Day. It's been a pretty good day today. Got to watch some of the Mandalorian and Grogu special look. Got to watch Maul Shadow Lord this morning. I'm having a great day, hope you are too. Alright, let's talk about Maul Shadow Lord. Again, spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the last 2 episodes, please do not watch. I really enjoyed this show overall. I do have a couple of notes, a few things that I didn't think hit the mark very well, but overall, I had an absolute blast with this show. I thought it was really fun. I'm going to go through some stuff that I've been saying sort of week to week about this show. I'll get that out of the way first. The animation, I think, is absolutely gorgeous. Just incredible to look at. The character movements are fluid. The painted backgrounds of the cityscapes look incredible. I love the feel that gives. It reminds me of the old matte paintings of the original trilogies in the background. I just love that look that they've gone with. Literally being able to see the brushstrokes on things is amazing. It's a style that I personally really enjoy. The lightsabers as well look really, really good. Season 7 Clone Wars, they were a little bit too noodle-like. Rebels, they were very thin. I think here they look better than they ever have. They're not entirely solid, they're very crackly. I just love the look of them. And the animation isn't the only top tier thing, obviously, but the voice work from everyone involved. Sam Witwer, I could listen to him read a phone book. Gideon Adlin as Devon Izara was wonderful. I can't wait to hear more of her going into season 2. Really, really loved her character of Devon. Honestly, quite possibly my favorite character of the season. Dennis Haysbert as Iko Diodaki was a great addition to the cast. Wagner Moura as Lawson, Rich Ayoade as Two Boots, Vanessa Marshall as Rook Cast. Honestly, everyone was just on their A game. The voice work in this show I thought was fantastic. I'm going to sort of pivot and focus on the last 2 episodes of the show now, and just talk about a few things. I got up at 5 a.m. in the morning to watch this. It came out at midnight, but I was too tired. I couldn't get up and do it, especially because I work early in the morning. But I got up at 5 a.m. Really, really liked these 2 episodes as a finale. I did have a few criticisms, which I'll get into, but I honestly really loved them. Marok and the 11th brother, the 2 Inquisitors, I adored. I've never hated the Inquisitors or disliked them or anything. I've always just felt like that they were kind of an excuse to get more red lightsabers on screen. Sometimes they were used to good effect, sometimes they were just sort of there, like in the Kenobi show. But sometimes I've liked their appearances, even if they are quite brief. Like I liked Barris's story. I liked how they were used very briefly in the Tales of the Jedi show. The book Rise of the Red Blade, I think, is a wonderful Inquisitor story. Marok and the Crow felt both competent and, best of all, scary. Like Marok in the interrogation room, the creaking leathery sound design to the Crow and when he moves is amazing. The scene where Darky senses them in episode 9, I think it was, where they're coming at the tunnel and they run around that corner at full speed, almost like Naruto running, and draw their lightsabers. That is one of my favorite shots in these 2 episodes. Just a really scary use of them. Like, just imagine those 2 things coming at you at full speed. That would be insanely terrifying. Episodes 9 and 10 are essentially an elongated chase and battle scene, which I was okay with personally. I previously stated that the lightsaber scenes I think have been very, very fun to watch. Compared to the shootout scenes where you have, like, Rook Cast and her Mandalorians shooting at the TK stormtroopers, I feel like those scenes have been kind of meh. Like last week's episodes when they were on that bridge, it was just kind of like 2 rows of people standing there shooting at each other. It wasn't very visually interesting, but the lightsaber stuff I think has been very, very visually interesting, and we get a lot of that in these 2 episodes. That one moment where Maul, Devon, and Darky saber lock with Marok and Crow for a second, that is perfection. It's the thumbnail of the video. I loved that moment so much. I'm going to talk about some disappointments for a second here, and that's going to be the secondary characters or supporting characters of this show. I feel that some of them were vastly underdeveloped and underutilized. Rook Cast, when I was really excited when I learned that she was returning from Clone Wars Season 7. I was excited to learn more about her and see her in action. And I think in this show, she is a glorified Mandalorian muscle for 10 episodes. I felt she was completely wasted. I found her demise to be kind of unsatisfying. I just felt like they could have used her more, develop her more as a character, and it just didn't happen. I was very, very disappointed with that. Same with the Zabrak brothers, Icarus and Scorn. I bet half of you probably didn't even know that they had names. I'm sorry, but I just didn't care about them because we never got to know them. I didn't care when Scorn got yeeted off a cliff, and Icarus, yeah, he had a cool death scene in episode 9, throwing the knives and taking out the troopers into the acid. But I just don't know these characters. They've just been there. They've been background muscle like Rook cast, and I can't bring myself to care when they die because I know nothing about them. And this is where I couldn't help but think that maybe a show like this with the potential, you know, like the full-length season, the 20 episodes, that something like Rebels or Clone Wars or even Resistance had, how much more time we could have spent with characters, especially the side characters, build them up, give them some more personality, some backstory, so that we actually care when they die. I think this, personally, was the show's biggest failure. I did feel very upset when Spybot got sliced in half because he had a very visible personality. There was something to latch onto with that character. He wasn't a main character by any means, but he had quirks and humor to him. He had a memorable way of speaking. And so when he does get sliced in half and dies, you feel it. You feel sorry for him. You were connected to that character, and it was a droid who was essentially a bit of a background character, but because he had a personality to him, it felt more. I felt more when that happened than I did with Rook or the Zabraks or any of the Mandalorians, because we just didn't get enough time with them. All right, now we get to the big thing, the thing that everyone's talking about with these 2 episodes, Darth Vader showing up at the end of episode 9. I think pretty much everyone knew this was going to happen. I don't think this was a surprise to anyone. I saw that the character posters were leaked, I think maybe week 1 or 2 around this show, and Vader had a character poster. I'm very glad I didn't see that, because that would have been annoying. Even though I think we all knew that he was probably going to show up, because it did make sense for him to show up. This isn't just fan service for the sake of fan service, in my opinion. It makes sense that Vader is here at this point in time in the story. Now, that being said, I do think the inclusion of Vader is... I'm a little bit conflicted on it. I think it's a very safe way to escalate the stakes and to bring in that fan service of seeing Vader be the badass, unstoppable force that he is. Despite it making sense for him to be in the story at this point of time, there is still that line of fan service. I do personally like that he doesn't have a line of dialogue here at all. I've seen a lot of people upset that he didn't speak a word. I was the opposite. I thought it was a great idea. I love that he didn't speak a word. I thought it made him more menacing, if anything. I really liked that choice. My main criticism is the thing where Vader is portrayed, you know, as the almost utterly just unstoppable force, just an absolute god with a single-bladed lightsaber and the Force. And I find that there's a bit of a disconnect there where you get the speedy flashiness of Devon, Maul, Darky versus Marok and the Crow, and you see all this lightning fast spinning and saber attacks, but then when that same stuff is translated towards Vader, it just doesn't work the same, you know? He keeps up fine with a single blade against 3. There's a disconnect in my head when that happens. When you see everyone super fast against each other, but it just doesn't work on Vader. I think it's a small issue, I guess, but it is what it is. I just felt like they maybe could have stylized the scenes a little bit better around Vader. I don't know. There was just something that felt a little bit off, a little bit like, well, it's Vader. He can't lose. Vader's too good. I just rewatched it while I was getting footage while recording. It's not so bad, I guess. I don't know. Vader just has so much power in each hit that they barely get a chance to attack 3-on-1. It's convenience, I'm gonna say. It is convenience, but it works, I guess. So in addition to people like Spybot, Icarus, and Rook, we also lose Darky and Lawson in this episode. Now, I'm not 100% convinced that Lawson is actually dead. We didn't see a body. Maybe he's still kicking. He is also the one that viewed Maul sort of force push Darky towards Vader when Maul decided it was time to get out of Dodge. Maybe that's going to be something that eventually makes its way back to Devon. Lawson delivering that bit of information. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. We didn't see a body. I'm not convinced that he is gone. We cannot say the same, though, for Eco Dio Darky. Master Darky no doubt that he is definitely gone. I really liked Darky throughout this show. We all knew his end was coming. It has to, narratively, for Devon to go on the path that she's going to go. I was genuinely surprised it took this long. I thought he would be gone by like week 2 in this, but I guess when they announced a second season, in my head, the timeline of events of where everything can happen went from like this to this, because they've got so much more room to play with now. Devon finally joining Maul at the very end of the season was very satisfying. It was a very fantastic ending to the season, in my opinion. It was built up from the beginning. It was satisfying to see. You see her rage slowly building throughout this entire season, especially when she fights against Vader and Crow and she just starts screaming, and you hear that voice change when she's screaming against them, and it's a really nice, not so subtle detail, but it's subtle enough that a lot of people have missed that I've seen. I'm just really excited to see Maul and Devon in Season 2, especially now that we've lost some of the quote-unquote baggage of the other characters. I'd love it if we can get a lot more focus on just Maul and just Devon next season. I do wonder how characters like Two Boots and Riley are going to work in to Season 2. Are they going to be like sort of going off to his mother who is in the Empire? Is that going to be a storyline that plays out some way? There was a scene where Two Boots sort of like, it cuts to Two Boots when he sees that Maul is upset that Spybot got sliced. So is Two Boots kind of being like, hey, Maul appreciates droids. Will he appreciate me if I go to his side? That could be something. I might be reading too much into that, but that could be something. I was surprised Vario survived as well. Dryden Voss coming onto the scene is finally the connection towards Solo that we needed. I do wonder if Kira could potentially make an appearance at some point in the future. I'm not really sure on the timeline for things with her. I'd have to look it up. I get really confused with Crimson Empire, or whatever the comics were. I can't remember where the timeline is in relation to this show. Overall though, I really liked the show. Not as much as some other people. I've seen other people being like, this is peak Star Wars, 10 out of 10, favorite show ever. I definitely liked it, not as much as that. But like I said, it had some issues, especially with the secondary characters. I would have loved the episode count to be longer so we can spend more time with characters and maybe not have some things feel so rushed. But overall, I was very satisfied with this show. I'm very keen for a Season 2, which hopefully won't be too long of a wait, as they have confirmed that it's been in development for a little while. So tell me what you thought of Maul Shadow Lord Season 1. Make sure you follow me here and over on TikTok. I'll see you next time. Once again, happy Star Wars Day. May the Force be with you.